What's up, everybody? My name is Brandon McCall. I'm also known as BMXC, and this is Nice Minds. I'm with a very, very, very special guest, Mark Schirmacher. I got that right?
Hey, yes you did, sir. Yes, you did. Love it.
How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good, man. Just hanging out here mid-February in Minnesota. A little chilly, but had some sunshine today, so all good.
So I became familiar with you on Instagram through a mutual friend, Benjamin K, and you put together a bunch of different projects under your name, Low Key Trampoline. They're
Hmm.
like different lo-fi projects, and you stay really consistent and really busy, and it's really impressive the stuff that you put out and the stuff that you do. So I kind of wanted to get you on and just talk to you about it. How did you get your start with making music?
Well, I guess that goes back a ways. Maybe as low-key trampoline we're talking about, right?
You can even go further back, like how did you get your start in general?
Yeah, I just have been drawn to music all my life. As a kid, I was in choirs for like church groups. I was in school band playing trumpet as a fifth grader up through 12th grade. And the thing happened to me that sort of changed everything was I discovered guitar. Maybe like sixth, seventh grade, eighth grade, I was just transitioning out of skateboarding and I found a guitar and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And picking up that guitar um, just kind of blew my mind because I taught myself, and I took lessons on other instruments. So guitar was kind of my first self-taught instrument, and it was like a key. It was like I was holding a key in my hand, and I could hear what people were doing in songs. Like listening to the radio as a kid, I was listening to Billy Joel and Foreigner and Night Ranger and Bon Jovi and U2 and all these bands that I'm sure you were grooving on too.
Definitely.
Um, and I could hear what they were doing, the guitar players. I could hear what the songwriters were doing through using the guitar and even piano as a tool. So guitar blew my mind. I started writing songs in 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Got a couple bands together, and actually, I'm still really good friends with the dudes in my first band. We called ourselves the Hoagnanders, which was kind of an inside joke. Like a church joke because there was a dude who went to our church. He was a pastor and he was kind of a philanderer, like womanizing and all this stuff. And his last name was Hognander, so we took that name and thought it was pretty funny. But I don't know. Since then, man, it's just been bands and folk music. I was big into folk music, singer-songwriter music. And I started putting stuff out about 2015 as Mark Schirmacher myself. Um, and playing around college radio stations, going to Michigan and Superior, Wisconsin, and Duluth, and putting shows on. Um, and really just using music as a tool to connect with people and tell stories and tell my story. Um, and Low Key happened a couple years ago, right before the pandemic. And it was not related at all. I was actually in Nashville, Tennessee, in about February of 2020, and I was there to meet some producers to work on a new EP for some Mark Schirmacher folk stuff. And I got home from that and met a couple really nice people, and was planning to go forward on it. And I was really frustrated with how long it took to, like, as a songwriter, to have the song, to go in the studio and get a really good sound, to have someone mix and produce it, which I've done my own stuff in the past, but for this stuff, I really wanted it to be clean. And it's like a 5, 6 month turnaround. And I'm sitting here coming home from this trip to Nashville with all these songs in my brain, just like melodies and song ideas, really unrelated to folk music and me as a singer. And I said, screw it, I'm just going to start using my flipping iPhone, and I started recording all the early low key stuff on my iPhone, mixing it on there, dropping it down to waves from there, uploading it to my distributor from there. Um, and so, like, the first 20 songs of mine were really just all done on the fly, very, very quickly, and kind of like in a fever of production. And um, that's how low key started. And I have not really stopped to look back since then. So long answer to your question, bro.
No, I appreciate it. That's very welcomed on this podcast. I love it because I mean, yeah, you're somebody like me who has a lot of experience under their belt when it comes to music and production and stuff like that. Because I am 20 years deep at this point. This year, I
Hmm.
think, with production. So
Right on,
I
bro.
definitely go way back. I mean, I'm sure because you're a little bit older than me, so I'm sure you even go days before DAWs. I'm sure that you
Oh, you know it.
tape machines and
My first recording when I knew when I picked up that guitar, it was my dad's classical guitar in the closet downstairs in our house where I grew up. And he never played it, and I saw it in there numerous times, and one time I just pulled it out and kinda opened it up and looked at it. I didn't touch it because I didn't wanna screw it up, and I wasn't sure how my dad would feel about it. Um, but once I started playing it, I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna keep this up in my room. Do you mind?" And he's like, "No, go ahead." So I could figure out some chords, and the first thing I recorded within just a couple of weeks of learning how to play was Simon and Garfunkel's "Only Living Boy in New York" from maybe like their maybe it's Bridge Over Troubled Water album. But I sang and played into a tape deck machine, like the kind that you'd use for your language classes in junior high and high school to listen
yep.
to the lessons, you know. I recorded it there, and then I put it on my boombox and pressed play really loud, and then got the original tape deck out, put a new tape in there, recorded that, so it's playing on the boombox, and I'm soloing over myself and singing double harmonies and stuff, and so like kind of the OG 2-track recording for myself. I have it somewhere, but yeah, 4 tracks was huge too. I had a Fostex four track tape machine that I would bounce tracks and get all 7 tracks on there. 7 was the most you could do, and it sounded fairly garbagey at the end, but um, I don't know, man. There's a lot of soul in there, and knowing how to just record basically like that, I thought I still think it really influences how I record now. You know, I do takes. I don't like to cut takes up. I try to get a take. You know, that's the kind of producer I am. Go with the feeling, and if it doesn't sound perfect, that's going to be okay. It has the heart in there.
That's awesome, man. I mean, yeah, because I like to get people who are, you know, either my age or older on here and talk about that kind of stuff because I feel like the kids these days have it so freaking easy. I mean, the tools that they have or that I have at my disposal now, I would have, freaking loved to have, 20 years ago when I first got started. And I
I
mean,
know.
I got started on a DAW. Reason was my first one. But that
Mm,
was before it even had like the capability to record vocals. So that was my first like
mm,
real DAW. But before that, I mean, I was messing around with like you said, like tape recorders and stuff like that. I never had like a 4 track or anything. Because I feel like I was like right on that cutoff age where
yeah, yeah,
like I just missed that. But I mean, when in the 90s when I was growing up, it was like tape recorders like crazy. I mean, that's how I first started getting my love for being creative
yeah,
and
yeah.
recording things, and it was, either, handheld recorder or, a VHS camera and
Right
doing
on. Yeah,
crazy shit with that, and,
yeah.
yeah, I found myself, like, really especially now that, like, I feel like a lot of the old school music is coming back, I find myself kinda, like, digging out my VCR and digging trying to locate old, like,
Oh
tape
yeah.
recordings that I have and sampling that and shit.
I see people posting stuff like that all the time. They're using my old Fostex machine that I sadly threw out 20 years ago when I thought it was done. And that's all come back. And tapes. Did you dub tapes and hand them out too?
When I started making music, it wasn't really on tape. I mean, maybe it was, but, I mean, I definitely would make my own mixtapes and stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
by recording things off the radio and recording other tapes and dubbing them. I mean, I definitely enjoyed that, when I was younger.
Right on. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just insane that my generation and the generation before were the last ones to kinda know the rudimentary ways of recording music.
Now you can have a billion tracks, right?
Yep.
That's kind of what I like about lo-fi though. is I sort of operate under that lo-fi umbrella, and there's like lo-fi purists. I'm probably not really a lo-fi purist, but I like that a lot of lo-fi artists are minimalist, and they maybe have 5 or 6 like instruments or tracks on a take or on a song, and that speaks to me because I think simplicity is powerful, you know, and maybe that's why I feel like I have something to say in this genre. Is I came from that. I came from you could get 7 tracks. That is the most you could get with a 4 track tape, unless you string them together, which I didn't even think about really.
It's really interesting that you just started Low Key Trampoline within the last couple years because I feel like you're somebody that I see you and Ben both, Ben Jam and Beats, once you guys both started in that space, I mean, I feel like you guys just kinda took off with that, and your both of your network is just crazy because the lo-fi community is interesting. I'm just kind of stepping into that space and trying to, like,
Yep, yep.
learn about it and because I'm just I'm a hip hop dude, so I mean it comes a little naturally to like, to be in that world, but um it's crazy because I mean knowing what Ben was like before meeting all these people and to where he is now, it's just it's night and day, and I'm sure it's
Yeah.
probably the same for you. It probably opened up a whole new lane or, things in your mind and network that you had no
Oh
idea even
yeah.
existed.
Yeah. I've always been a pure musician. Operator where I really come at things as a musician. I really don't come at them as a producer. I produce because I have these ideas that nobody is going to get for me. I have to get them. I have to put them down. Um, and I was producing my own music for years and years and years, 4 tracking, putting out my own CDs. And then I started farming that out in about 2015, and I put out one, two, three, four or so kind of folk singer songwriter releases that were in other people's hands entirely. I trusted them, and I still do with my singer songwriter music, where they're mixing it and we're going to studios and recording it. And I have mastering engineers working on it, and I have artists hired to do the artwork. But Low Key was really an attempt for me to reclaim my roots, which is sitting in a freaking bedroom with a guitar and a shitty, cassette tape player and laying down what's on my heart at that moment. And I think that is still the most powerful form of expression. I love my clean singer songwriter music. I love the people I work with, but Low Key is not filtered. And so as a musician, I can say things that you can't plan to say in the studio in a month when you've booked it. You're going to say it right now because something came up, and you're going to get your mic out and you're going to get your keyboard out and you're going to find some loops that you like, and you're going to get out this guitar or that kalimba or that didgeridoo, and you're going to create it, and then you're going to mix it, and you're going to say this is that moment, and you're going to put it out. And um, I think it's interesting that you think that I am consistent, because I see myself as sort of inconsistent actually with what I produce.
Really
Maybe I consistently produce music, but I think I consistently produce inconsistent music because I'm all over the place. I feel like.
interesting. Same. I feel like I am too. I mean, it's in the hip hop realm generally, but I mean, I've been dabbling in a lot of like 80s throwback jams, like the weekend would sing over or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
and but I also do like really hard trap music, and then I do, boom bap stuff, and so like
yeah.
I'm it's no whatever I'm feeling on any given day is what I end up creating.
And do you filter yourself when you're making something? Like, say, I want to make this, and then if it doesn't go that way, kind of bend it, or do you just let it go when it's happening and it is what it is?
Yeah, I let it go. I just let
Yeah,
it turn into whatever it turns into because 'cause
yeah,
I'm not the type where I usually because I don't often sit down with I mean, sometimes, but when I sit down to make music, it's generally just like opening up different samples and letting it go, wherever that sample takes me basically.
yep,
Because
yep.
I'm a very sample-based dude.
I admire that. I cannot work with samples, man. I've tried and they just confound me. I feel limited, and I don't know what to do with them.
I understand that. I mean, I definitely wish that I would have started the way that you started in the in the real musician space, and just having that knowledge of like how to actually pick up a guitar and play. But I mean, it was very much like figure it out as I go, and I never actually sat down and had the discipline to like learn. I know basic music theory and stuff, but I never had really had the discipline to sit down and like really learn how to play piano or like learn how to play any instruments.
Yeah.
Now it's just like I've sampled for so long that I know exactly what to do and where to take
But
samples.
that's a skill, bro. That is such a cool skill. I wish I could do that. And I don't have the patience to do that. I should. But I'm like, I just want to play an instrument, and that's my
Yeah.
expression, which actually makes it so, I think, such a good fit when I work with other artists because there's a million artists out there that are better producers than me, 100%. But I think I've got like musician skills to offer that other people maybe don't have. So when I hook up with a producer who's fire and who knows samples and who knows beats and maybe comes from like a more traditional, like either hip hop or even true lo-fi background, I can lay some instruments on that thing and we work together and we make something really, really, really interesting. And that's kind of where Loki is, I think my niche is as that artist, is to be a musician and a collaborator and let someone else with more chops than me produce it. And that's what I think I'm most happy with when I put stuff out. Although I do like my own little stuff that I produce and everything, but is definitely not in the genre as much. I don't think as many people hear it when I do it, which is cool. It's still, I do it anyway just to do it because if I don't, I'm gonna explode.
Hell yeah.
That's messy.
I'm like yeah, that's messy. I'm like the exact opposite though. So that's why we definitely need to collaborate at
We
some
gotta
point
hook up, man.
on something because I'm definitely a producer. I mean, like I can bring any musician in the room and make magic. Like I
I love it.
and see, I mean, because that's kind of my process. I mean, when I'm working with like Ben or with my buddy Brandon, because my buddy Brandon's an excellent guitar player and bassist. So like I'll have like a skeleton of a beat or something, and I'll kind of know, I'll have the basics down, and I'll just have like Brandon jam over it, just playing, like,
Yeah,
riffs and
yeah.
just coming up with different stuff, and, like, I painstakingly go through and I chop it up and I, like, fit it together and mold it together and sample it essentially,
Yes,
and
yes.
so, like, I'm definitely that type of producer.
I just started working with a dude that I don't know very well. He goes by Keto the Broski on Instagram, and he's kind of hip hop, kind of rap. He's kind of expanding now, doing all kinds of different stuff. But I sat down and laid some chords down, and then I noodled over those chords with guitar. And then I laid some piano down over that, and then I did some other instrument, and I sent him all this stuff, and he's basically doing that now. He's taking my stuff and he's just sampling it, making his sense out of it, and I love that. I love getting something back that just sounds completely different than anything I could have created. And it's almost like a sample pack. That's kind of how I
Yeah.
see myself. I can play trumpet and banjo and piano and all these instruments, but I don't always know what to do with them on my own. So working with producers like you and other people that I've found is so, it's almost like a relief for me and a freedom for me to really just express myself with music. And then once that is done, serve it up to someone else and they can cut it up how they want to and then toss it back to me and maybe I'll lay some more sauce on it with something else or whatever. Collabs go all different
And
ways.
that's awesome that you have such a respect for sampling too, because I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like, I don't know if I would you because I don't consider myself a musician. I consider myself like a audio, a producer and audio engineer essentially.
Hmm.
Um, but like people that I feel like you who are true musicians who can like play and know what they're doing when it comes to that stuff. I feel like oftentimes they'll look down on sampling and not respect it in the way that it should be respected because
Hmm.
like you said it is an art form and
Oh
it
yeah.
takes skill and it takes talent to do it well, it takes years of practice to master that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And that's part of this low key process for me too, is is being open to a lot of stuff that I maybe wasn't 10 years ago as a 30 something year old, you know? Like music is music now to me. And I've always felt that, but I haven't always been able to act on that. And that's another aspect I just dig about Low Key Trampoline is I can do whatever I want to do. Any genre, I'll take it. Like that Christmas project I dropped back this past year has auto tune on there from one of my collaborators, has like this huge big band orchestra sound from another collaborator, kind of a lo-fi 1950s jazz club kind of guitar bass kind of a thing from another collaborator, and it's all just beautiful to me. I love it, and I don't want to be put in any kind of box, you know. And I think I've probably missed some opportunities that way because I can't produce something more than once, or I can't fit into a genre to get playlisted or whatever. But to me, I just love the expression of it and the freedom and the relationships too. Like, you know, working with people in Australia or Japan or Germany or the UK, or I'm dropping a thing in a couple weeks with a dude in Portugal, and we've never met, but I love his sound and he was receptive to what I was doing, and there it is. It's like this new thing.
So, I mean, you kinda touched on some stuff, but, what are some major setbacks and obstacles you've had to face, like, whether in your life or career that have, like, hindered or slowed you down at all?
I have had the fortune of having an illness that took me out of the picture for a good year to about 5 years, honestly. I'm a cancer survivor and I'm 10 years clean now, so that's awesome.
That's amazing.
And it right around that time, I was getting back into music, or that spurred me to get back into music, and it taught me that you can't do everything in your life. So, um, I don't know. I think it freed me up quite a bit to really go forward with music because I realized I had nothing to lose. And you have to use the time you've got because I just don't know. We just don't know. Um, but limitations, you know, are, I would say I struggle to balance my real life responsibilities, which are my wife and kids, um, my family, siblings, parents. I want to keep everyone there safe in my reality. I don't want to love music so much that these real things in my life, the people, that they somehow disappear into the background. And that's a tough thing for me, to be honest
Yep.
with you, because I just love the creative space so much, but I can't love that more. I have loved that more, and I have seen what it does to people around me and even my own sort of like receptive ability to the world, I think, you know. And we all kind of grew up like admiring artists, I would imagine. Like, you know, I grew up certainly idolizing Bob Dylan and these other people who created amazing shit, and their lives probably fell apart because of it. And I kind of thought maybe that's how it should go for me, but thankfully, my wife of many years is with me, and she keeps me on track with that stuff too. And there's time to create, and there's time to love the people around you, and there's time to just stop and sit in a hammock and do zero work or thinking about music, you know? So just that real life stuff, the balance is probably my biggest hurdle.
Really relate to a lot of what you said, and my heart goes out to you with the cancer stuff, and I'm so glad you beat it, man.
Oh, thanks,
M
bro.
Me and my girlfriend both have that in common with people close to us. For when I first started dating my girlfriend, her younger brother is a cancer survivor, and he's had 3 bouts of osteosarcoma.
Hmm. What's
And it's a type of bone cancer, and so he was, I think, 16 when he first, got diagnosed, and then he had to get his leg amputated, actually, and then he was in, remission or whatever for a year, and then it came back again, and that's when I started dating my girlfriend, was the 2nd round,
hmm.
and then he was, like, again, another year or so in remission, and then it came back again.
Hmm.
And now he's also, it's been 10 years for him as well this year.
Okay. All right. Congrats.
He's been kicking ass when it comes to all that stuff. And I mean, you know this, and everybody who listens to the podcast knows I lost my mom died from coronavirus, but she struggled with cancer, which made her,
Mhm.
you know, immunocompromised.
Yeah.
And so you know, the cancer thing is really close to me in so many different ways. And so I mean, yeah, my heart just goes out to anybody, and like any chance that I get, you know, I always want to talk about it and hear people's triumphs when it comes to that stuff, and
Yeah.
um just talk about it. I'm really thankful that you shared that.
Yeah, when I was diagnosed, I kind of made the decision to just really talk about it with people that I came across. And everyone was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry," and so sorry you have cancer and this and that. And I get that, and I can respect that too. But where my head was at was like, "Hey, I am okay with this, and it is not cool. It is hurting me. It wanted me dead, and I did the chemo and the surgery, and but along the way, what was happening was I kind of gained this superpower that I could tell when people were hurting really bad, whether I was on the phone with them or with them. And whereas before I might have just maybe not brought it up or
Yep,
whatever, I would just say, "Hey, how's it going? You seem kind of bummed out, or I can tell you're kind of hurting right now, or whatever." And um, I don't know. I just became like really able to connect with people, and I would tell people about my cancer that I was struggling with, and I was all raw, like emotionally and physically because of the chemo and the drugs and the whole 9 yards. So you get that. You saw that with your mom, I'm
yep,
sure. Um, so I just became super transparent, and honestly, I've been trying to hold on to that transparency a little bit now in my life. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. And maybe there's a time to not be super transparent. Like you got to kind of protect yourself sometimes. But overall, I feel like it was a blessing. Because people showed up, dude. And I felt so much love from people
yep,
that would bring meals over, that would come over and talk to me. Wait, people in my family tree that were like kind of distant would call up and say, "Hey, how's it going, Mark?" Like they'd be my great uncle or whatever. And people showed up. And I think
yep,
if that's what it takes for people to show up, then I will take that hit. I don't want to take it again. I don't want to see cancer come back again. But it wasn't like this horrible curse to me at that time. It was honestly some kind of a weird gift. And I'm glad to be done with it. I don't want to have that gift again, to be honest with you. But I know, just everyone's perspectives about it is so different too. But that was my take. I just wanted to talk to people about it. I wanted to be open about it. I didn't want to be awkward about
yep.
it, you know? So maybe I made them feel awkward by bringing it up, but they can leave the room. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think it no, I think that's amazing. I think that's super important, man. I feel like I have become very transparent over the last few years, you know, with my struggles with my mom. I mean, because basically I people are probably sick of me talking about it because I talk about it a lot on this podcast, but I don't care because
Mm-hmm.
I like to talk about it and it helps me.
Mm-hmm.
But I basically put my whole life on hold when my mom got diagnosed in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the time, Nice Guy Entertainment was a record label. And we operated from like as a record label from like 2015 up until 2020. But in 2018, uh, I really had to slow down and I helped my mom. My dad did too, but like when my dad was at work, I was by my mom's side.
Mm-hmm.
All because me and my dad had just a schedule that worked out to where we could, you know, go back and forth with helping my mom and basically like you said, like the balance thing. I mean, I couldn't find time to balance my music and my passion and my record label with, you know, also helping the closest person to me and
Yeah.
um seeing her go through all that stuff. And then um I kind of tried to piece it back together. You know, I had my own set of struggles when my mom even when my mom got better. 2019 was just a shit show, but
Mm.
then in 2020 when the pandemic hit, I kind of had to reassess and take a step back, and and especially ever since my mom passed, it really made me realize, like you said, like how much more important family and friends are than, you know, music in general. I mean, like I love music and I'll do anything for music, but uh I wouldn't I wouldn't trade those years with those last years with my mom for anything. Like I am so thankful that I slowed my life down and was there by her side, for literally
Yep.
the last like 3 years of her life, like
Yeah.
a lot, so um yeah, I like you said, like a lot of what you said resonated with me, and I really uh empathize with that story, man, and I like thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, and I appreciate your transparency too with it. And you know what? People don't want to hear it, then they can they can figure it out for themselves. That's okay, you know.
Yep.
Like I think talking about cancer and normalizing it, and it's different for a caregiver like you were compared to me. I think honestly the caregiving job is a lot harder because you're walking on eggshells all the time, you're
Yep.
responding all the time, you have your own feelings, but they're not really the most important thing at that moment.
Yep.
Whereas the cancer person, they just get carte blanche. They can kind of do whatever. They can feel whatever. They can say whatever. They get all the attention. Um, so it's caregiving is no joke, dude. I almost think it's a better gig or a harder gig than the diagnosed person. But you know, when it comes to life being shortened, that's nothing. That's not cool. I feel for you, bro. Losing your
Thank
mom,
you.
that is not okay. I don't want to know what that's going to be like for me someday.
Thank you. Yeah, it's literally been the most disorienting, confusing. It's been just a little over 8 months now, and it's been it's been a struggle. Just kind of figure like cuz like I said, like I kind of put my whole life on hold, and
Mm,
I put a lot of things to the side, so I'm kind of stepping into this new world almost, like
mm-hmm,
without my mom, and because she was like a guiding light in my life. She was like the the person that I could confide in about anything, that I could be 100% myself around. We had, like our whole like outlook on life, and like the way we viewed, spirituality to like politics to like everything, it
mm,
was pretty spot on the same. I mean, I couldn't remember the last time we had an argument.
mm,
Which is another thing that I'm like really grateful for, that I don't have to deal with any sort of regret in that aspect,
mm,
but like I said, it just left me in a really odd space. So now I literally, the way I kind of describe it to people, I'm kind of picking up the pieces of my life and figuring out how to like piece it back together into something beautiful, and kind of recreate myself, and figure out what this new chapter of my life is going to look like. And it's taking a lot longer than expected, but trying not to beat myself up over it, and
no, 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 no.
trying to give myself some grace.
Yeah, it's got to be its own thing, you know, its own pace. Like anything, I would think it's gonna do its own thing on you, you know, when it's ready and all that stuff.
Yep.
Well, good for you, man. That's a tough uphill climb. But I like how you're approaching it. It's kind of like you're seeing it very creatively.
Yeah, I mean, my creativity hasn't slowed down a bit, man. I mean, like I just like my one of my goals, as silly as it is to well, my ultimate goal is Grammys, but,
Hmm.
we can get into that later. But, one of my micro goals is to learn TikTok this year,
Oh yeah.
because my brother is super into it, my girlfriend is super into it, and they're always like, "There's so many creatives on there, like, you're always making beats and talking about your beats and stuff, you should, like, get on there." And I made um my mom used to always bug me about, well, not bug me, but we used to always talk about digitizing our VHS tapes, 'cause I mean, she literally
Yeah.
she was obsessed with recording everything. I mean, from the
Yeah.
time, like, my brother was born, in '88 until, like, '05, like, everything is videotaped.
You just put a video thing up on TikTok a
Yeah.
couple hours ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I was just getting into that. So it's definitely put, like, a whole new like, a whole new thing creatively on, like, what I'm doing now, because I have, the ability to record all these VHS tapes, and I'm getting, like, inspired to, make TikToks out of it, and, even I even sampled, some weird glitch sound that I heard on the VHS tape,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm planning on doing that a lot, so it's kinda giving me, like, a whole new, like sampling ideas and
Yeah,
content
yeah.
ideas, and just kind of, yeah, it's really interesting how much this, and I put out a song called Melancholy Sunshine, which I think I showed you.
I've heard it, yeah, about your mom.
I appreciate you checking it out.
Bit at the end with her voice on there.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh, dude, just absolutely oh, man, I think I probably literally cried, if not had to sit there and, like, debate how I was gonna cry, if I was gonna do, like, full on man cry or just, like, maybe tear up a little bit or whatever, but so beautiful to hear her voice and that you included that in there, and oh, man, just great. Great.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I really just wanted to put my all into it, and I'm glad that it was received exactly the way that I intended it, because I feel like I've never, I mean, and that was the power of my relationship with her, is I've never made a piece that I feel has done that for other, countless other people, like,
Mhm.
has touched them in that way. I put out music that people have enjoyed, and, you know, uh, people like to come into my shows and all that stuff, but I feel like I've never put out something in that with that much emotional depth,
Mhm.
to have that effect on countless people. So it was really humbling to hear, um, people say that about
The
the song,
feedback, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly what I had, intended. What advice would you give to younger creatives who are trying to get their start with music? Like, what do you wish that you would have known either back in the day or when you started Low Key Trampoline even?
I guess the advice I would give young producers out there who are making tracks right now and dropping them is, to not pursue perfection with your tracks. Um, it's it's gonna hold you back from, development if you're trying to be perfect in this track and get the absolute perfect mix, and we want it to sound good, you want it to be, like, balanced right, and you wanna have everything in its place, but the pursuit of perfection is not, useful for growth. Um, and so I think being comfortable with human, elements of your songs, of your beats, maybe not everything doesn't have to be exactly polished and perfect for you to start releasing music. And also, I think we give a lot of credit and a lot of weight to how our song is doing on Spotify. And I love seeing numbers on Spotify. I love when a song is successful there, but that's one measure. And for a while, the vinyl record was the measure, and they're kind of coming back, but they disappeared off the planet of the earth for like 25 years. You know, CDs were the measure for a while. 8-track tapes were the measure for a while. So I don't see these specific streaming platforms being around forever. And I just hate to see artists um, measuring their own value on how many streams they got on Spotify. Um, and maybe that's a personal thing that doesn't have any place in this kind of conversation, but um, I don't know. And also trust other people, trust other artists to do stuff with your sound if you're collaborating. And I honestly, I guess I would say collaborate too. Open
Yeah.
yourself up to collaboration because it's not going to be what you thought. And can we be okay with that? Because we're going to be creating some really interesting stuff if we can let go of our own hangups and hand a piece of music or a mix to somebody else and let them, have their thing too. So I'm all about community, and I really love when artists can let go of their hangups or their own, like, we all have our things that we're really good at, and if we can let go of that or pass that off onto somebody else, you never know what's going to happen, like really really cool, magical, creative juice getting squeezed out of that piece of fruit, in my experience. So, and not everyone's a collaborating type. I think that's cool too. Like, some people have a really strong vision and they're just killing it out there, and they know what they want, and it sounds great. But collaborate. Don't be afraid to you know to sound bad sometimes too. Like, the first 20 songs I made as Low Key are just kind of like, I listen to them now and I can't even listen to them. I'm thinking of pulling them down, honestly, because I don't want them out there. But part of me is like, you know what, dude, it's a journey. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like,
Mhm.
my own advice. So right now they're all up there for the whole world to gawk at if they want to.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, actually. I mean, everything that you said, I mean, like, is spot on. I especially, I mean, the other things were a little deeper than this, but I especially like the Spotify thing that you added, because I do think people put so much weight into this one streaming platform when there is so many other streaming platforms. Like, I don't even use Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it Spotify numbers mean nothing to me. The only time that I use it is if somebody sends me a Spotify link, or like something like that, or sometimes there's like a podcast on there or something, or whatever. But Spotify isn't even like really part of my consumption. So
Yeah.
I coming from my perspective, it's very, looking at the numbers is a very overrated, one-sided, one-dimensional thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I think that that's all great advice, and I think that that's spot on. In collaboration, man, I mean, collaboration is my favorite thing when it comes to music. Like, I mean, I enjoy doing it by myself and stuff like that, and being in my own little zone, cooking up and stuff. But I mean, it's nothing like, sending something to Ben or my buddy Brandon, or, whatever, and getting stuff back and just hearing like, holy shit. Or like my,
Yes.
uh, my song that I talked about, Melancholy Sunshine, I had my friend Brian Mingy mix it, and Mingy's been mixing for like 15 years. He's one of like Paisley Park's main live mixing engineers. So like, to hear him send that back, and was just like, holy
Yeah.
shit. Like, it just
Mind
brought a
blowing.
whole different life to what I created, and really brought it home. So I think
Nice.
I think collaboration is a very um undervalued thing that I think more people should take pride in, and do more often.
Yep, I'm with you, man.
Well, man, it's been amazing to talk to you, man. You're a great guy, and I just had to get you on, and I appreciate your time tonight. Do you have any, I like to give everybody the last word, even though I know you just kind of probably had your last word, but do you have anything, like any other things to add, or anything you want to plug, or anything you got coming up?
Well, I got a new singer-songwriter EP coming out. All this talk about Low Key Trampoline. And I'm kind of going on both roads here, but I got a new kind of folk singer-songwriter EP coming out on April 12th, produced entirely by a lo-fi genius producer named Nate Two Times, down in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's like really fusing my love of lo-fi and Low Key Trampoline with my singer-songwriter roots. And so I sent him the songs. He did the lo-fi thing to them. And so it's kind of like folk music through a lo-fi lens. It's super weird, super beautiful. I think it turned out really great. Um, and then I'll just follow me on Instagram, Low Key Trampoline, and reach out to me if you're listening and you want to collab. Send some tracks my way. I'll send you some tracks. We'll put some stuff out together, create a new thing. Being creative is fun. It's awesome. It's the best. So, um, and bro, Brandon, thanks, man, so much for carving this time out in your your podcast schedule, and I look forward to sending you a sample pack. We'll call it a sample pack for you to play with. Cut it up, and we could do something cool. That'd be great.
Absolutely, man. I'm ready when you are, man. Send it over. I'm
Beautiful.
more than willing, man. Thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Back at you, and we'll see you on the socials out there.